Welcome back to True Crime Unveiled, where every case is more than a headline.
We go deep into what happened, why it happened, and what justice really means. Stay with us as we explore tonight's chilling story.
The vast, desolate stretch of Highway 16 in British Columbia, Canada, is deceptively beautiful.
A place most people wouldn't think twice about driving through.
Cutting through rugged terrain, dense forests, and alongside serene rivers, it seems like a scene from a postcard. But beneath this picturesque facade lies a dark secret, a chilling history that has earned this road a grim nickname, the Highway of Tears.
A name that immediately suggests tragedy.
Since the 1970s, a disturbing number of women, predominantly Indigenous, have vanished or been found murdered along this 720-kilometer stretch of highway. Their stories, often intertwined with systemic vulnerabilities and historical injustices, remain largely unsolved, casting a long shadow over the communities connected by this isolated road.
So many lives lost, so many questions unanswered.
Tonight, we begin our journey into the heart of this complex and heartbreaking mystery. We will delve into the cases, examine the evidence, and explore the various theories that have emerged over the decades.
Trying to piece together a puzzle with so many missing pieces.
We will hear the voices of the families who continue to search for answers, and the advocates who fight tirelessly for justice. We'll examine the challenges faced by investigators, the geographical complexities of the region, and the systemic issues that contribute to the vulnerability of the victims.
It's a story that needs to be told.
This is a story about loss, grief, and the enduring strength of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable tragedy. It's a story about a highway that has become a symbol of fear, a testament to unanswered questions, and a desperate plea for justice.
A plea that continues to echo.
Join us as we travel down the Highway of Tears, not to sensationalize the violence, but to shed light on the darkness, to understand the complexities, and to honor the memory of those lost along the way.
Hoping to bring some semblance of closure to those affected.
The stories we are about to share are disturbing, and the details can be difficult to hear. But it is essential that we listen, that we learn, and that we never forget the names of those who vanished along this lonely stretch of highway. Their stories deserve to be heard.
And their families deserve answers.
The rugged beauty of British Columbia's Highway 16 corridor belies a dark history.
A stark contrast.
Indeed. Small towns and Indigenous communities dot the landscape, nestled amidst dense forests and towering mountains. Life here revolved around close-knit families, traditional practices, and a deep connection to the land.
A sense of community.
Absolutely. Imagine crisp mornings, the air thick with the scent of pine and damp earth, the sound of a logging truck rumbling in the distance, a familiar rhythm in the daily routine. Children walking to school, their laughter echoing through the quiet streets.
A peaceful existence.
It was. For many, hunting and fishing provided sustenance, while others worked in the mills or local businesses. Life was simple, predictable, and for the most part, safe.
Until it wasn't.
Exactly. This sense of security began to erode as young women started disappearing from the highway. The first few cases were treated as isolated incidents, runaway teens perhaps. But as the numbers grew, a chilling pattern emerged.
A pattern of disappearances.
Yes, these weren't just runaways. These were daughters, sisters, mothers, and friends, vanishing without a trace.
Leaving behind a trail of grief and unanswered questions.
Precisely. The disappearances cast a long shadow over the communities, shattering the peace and instilling a deep sense of fear.
Fear of the unknown.
Imagine the fear gripping the hearts of parents as their daughters failed to return home. The agonizing uncertainty, the frantic searches, the desperate pleas for information.
A nightmare for any family.
It was a nightmare unfolding in slow motion. A creeping dread that would haunt the Highway of Tears for decades.
A highway stained with tragedy.
Let's take a closer look at one of these tragic stories. The story of Ramona Wilson, a vibrant 16-year-old girl who lived in the small town of Smithers. Ramona loved music, dreamed of becoming a veterinarian, and had a contagious laugh that could brighten any room.
A life full of promise.
On June 11, 1994, Ramona left her home to attend a graduation party in a nearby town. She planned to hitchhike, a common practice in the area at the time.
A common practice, but a risky one.
It was. And tragically, for Ramona, it would prove to be a fatal decision. She was last seen alive at a gas station, asking for directions. She never made it to the party.
Another life lost.
Her disappearance sent shockwaves through the community. Search parties were organized, posters were plastered everywhere, and the RCMP launched a full-scale investigation.
Searching for answers.
But despite their efforts, Ramona remained missing. It wasn't until a year later that her remains were discovered, just a few kilometers from where she was last seen. Less than, person 1 greater than. Less than, person 1 greater than. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across Highway 16, painting the towering pines in hues of orange and purple.
A picturesque scene.
Yes, deceptively so. Beneath this veneer of tranquility lies a chilling reality. This stretch of highway, winding through the rugged terrain of British Columbia, has become synonymous with tragedy. It's known as the Highway of Tears.
A grim moniker.
Indeed. For decades, young women, predominantly Indigenous, have vanished or been found murdered along this 720-kilometer corridor. Their stories, often interwoven with systemic vulnerabilities and societal indifference, form a tapestry of grief and unanswered questions.
So where do we begin with this complex case?
Let's focus on the seemingly ordinary day of Ramona Wilson's disappearance. June 11th, 1994. Ramona, a vibrant 16-year-old, was heading to a friend's house for a party in the nearby town of Smithers.
A typical teenage outing.
Precisely. She planned to hitchhike, a common practice in the area, especially given the limited public transport. It was a sunny day, much like the one we're evoking now. She was last seen wearing a bright blue jacket and jeans, her dark hair pulled back in a ponytail.
Did anyone see her get into a vehicle?
There were reported sightings of Ramona getting into a pickup truck, but details remain hazy. The driver, the truck's make and model, these crucial pieces of the puzzle are still missing. The search for Ramona began almost immediately, involving local communities, RCMP officers, and volunteers.
A massive undertaking, I imagine.
Absolutely. The vastness of the wilderness surrounding Highway 16 presented a significant challenge. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and still, no sign of Ramona. The vibrant colors of summer gradually faded into the muted tones of autumn, mirroring the dwindling hope of finding her alive.
A heartbreaking scenario.
Tragically, almost a year later, Ramona's remains were discovered just a short distance off Highway 16, near a small airport outside of Smithers. The discovery confirmed the worst fears, plunging the community into deeper sorrow and adding another name to the growing list of victims along the Highway of Tears.
So another life lost, another mystery unsolved.
Yes, Ramona's case, like so many others along this highway, highlights the vulnerability of young women in remote areas and the pervasive fear that hangs heavy over the communities connected by this ribbon of asphalt.
It's more than just a highway, isn't it? It's a symbol.
A symbol of loss, of unanswered questions, and the desperate need for justice. The seemingly ordinary act of hitchhiking, a common practice in these remote areas, became tinged with danger. A shadow lurking beneath the surface of everyday life. Less than, person 1 greater than the year is 1974. The crisp autumn air bites at the vast expanse of the British Columbia wilderness. Highway 16, a desolate stretch of road winding through rugged terrain, becomes the backdrop for our first tragedy. A young woman, Colleen McMillan, just 18 years old, full of life and dreams, vanishes without a trace.
1974. So this is really where it begins.
Colleen had been hitchhiking, a common practice in those days, a way to traverse the long distances between small towns scattered along the highway. She was last seen alive near Lac La Hache, thumb outstretched, hoping for a ride to a friend's wedding in Prince George.
A common practice, you say?
Sadly, yes. Especially in more rural areas. It was a different time, a different understanding of the risks. What should have been a simple journey turned into a nightmare. Colleen never arrived at the wedding.
So right away, there's cause for concern.
Absolutely. Weeks turned into months, and the search for Colleen intensified. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the RCMP, launched a large-scale investigation, combing the dense forests and vast stretches of highway. Flyers with her picture were distributed, and appeals were made to the public. But the wilderness remained silent.
A vast and unforgiving landscape, I imagine.
It is. And that silence was finally broken, though not in the way anyone hoped. Months later, hunters stumbled upon a gruesome discovery near a remote logging road off Highway 16. A shallow grave concealed Colleen's remains.
Devastating.
The autopsy revealed the brutal nature of her death. Colleen had been sexually assaulted and murdered. The desolate beauty of the British Columbia wilderness now held a dark secret. The first confirmed victim along what would become infamously known as the Highway of Tears.
The first victim, but not the last.
Tragically, No Colleen's case, while heartbreaking, was just the beginning. It set a chilling precedent, marking the start of a pattern of disappearances and murders that would haunt this highway for decades to come. The isolation, the vastness of the terrain, and the vulnerability of those traveling alone all contributed to a sense of unease that began to permeate the region.
So this initial case, did it raise any immediate red flags, any particular suspects?
Initially, the investigation focused on known offenders in the area and individuals who had been seen near Lac La Hache around the time of Colleen's disappearance. Several persons of interest were questioned, but ultimately, no concrete evidence emerged linking anyone to the crime. The case went cold, leaving Colleen's family and the community with a gaping wound of unanswered questions.
A cold case from the start. How frustrating.
Indeed, and this sense of frustration, of unanswered questions, would only amplify as more young women vanished along Highway 16 in the years that followed, cementing its grim moniker, the Highway of Tears. The fear began to creep in, a chilling premonition that Colleen's case was not an isolated incident, but the first chapter in a horrifying story. Less than's person one greater than, less than, person one greater than. The disappearance of Ramona Wilson sent ripples of fear through the already anxious communities along Highway 16.
Another one gone.
It was a chilling echo of the tragedies that had come before, solidifying the unsettling realization that a predator might be lurking among them. The RCMP stepped up their patrols, but the vastness of the territory made comprehensive surveillance nearly impossible.
A daunting task.
The dense forests and winding roads offered ample cover, and the remote locations of many indigenous communities made quick response times challenging. Families began to restrict their daughters' movements, fear constricting their lives like an invisible barbed wire fence.
Understandable, yet so heartbreaking.
Hitchhiking, once a common necessity in this sparsely populated region, became a dangerous gamble. The very act of traveling along Highway 16 now carried an undercurrent of dread, a sense of vulnerability that clung to every mile.
A highway of shadows.
The media began to dub the stretch of road the Highway of Tears, a grim moniker that captured the collective grief and terror that had settled over the region. The name resonated with a painful truth, acknowledging the tears shed for the missing and the palpable fear that gripped those who remained.
A chillingly accurate name.
The increased police presence offered little comfort. The disappearances continued, each one a fresh wound on the already scarred landscape of the North. The families of the missing women, driven by desperation and a fierce love, organized their own search parties.
Taking matters into their own hands.
They combed the forests, walked the ditches, and called out the names of their loved ones, their voices echoing through the trees, a heartbreaking chorus of hope against the encroaching despair. Their efforts, while valiant, often yielded little more than fragments of clothing, discarded belongings, or the chilling silence of the wilderness.
A desperate search for answers.
The lack of concrete answers fueled speculation and rumors. Some whispered of a serial killer, preying on vulnerable women. Others spoke of transient workers passing through the area, exploiting the isolation and lack of resources. Still others believed that the disappearances were unconnected, a tragic series of unfortunate events.
So many unanswered questions.
The uncertainty only deepened the fear, creating a climate of suspicion and mistrust. Every stranger became a potential threat, every passing vehicle a source of anxiety. The Highway of Tears was no longer just a road. It had become a symbol of vulnerability, a testament to the fear that had taken root in the hearts of so many.
A symbol of lost hope.
We've discussed the geographical clustering of the disappearances and murders along Highway 16, a desolate stretch of road winding through British Columbia's rugged landscape.
A chilling pattern indeed.
Yes, and as we delve deeper into the psychological profile of the likely perpetrator, or perpetrators, we begin to see a pattern of contradictions emerge, a duality between their outward presentation and their inner darkness.
A Jekyll and Hyde situation?
Precisely. Imagine someone who could blend seamlessly into the community, appearing ordinary, perhaps even charming, while harboring predatory impulses. This ability to compartmentalize, to present a facade of normalcy is a key characteristic often found in those who commit such heinous acts.
Makes them harder to catch.
Absolutely. They are chameleons, adapting to their surroundings, manipulating those around them. This duality makes it incredibly difficult for law enforcement and for the community as a whole to identify the threat lurking beneath the surface. They can be anyone, anywhere.
So how do you begin to unravel that?
By looking for inconsistencies, for cracks in the facade. Perhaps there's a history of minor offenses, a pattern of manipulative behavior, or accounts from those who sense something unsettling beneath the surface. These seemingly insignificant details can be crucial pieces of the puzzle.
Red flags we might otherwise miss.
Exactly. We need to consider the possibility that the perpetrator, or perpetrators, led a double life. They might have held a steady job, maintained relationships, and participated in community activities, all while secretly harboring a deep-seated rage or a compulsion to control and dominate.
A terrifying thought.
It is. And this duality makes it even more challenging to comprehend the motivations behind these crimes. How can someone seemingly normal be capable of such brutality? That's a question that continues to haunt investigators and the families of the victims.
We keep coming back to that question.
And rightly so. Understanding the psychology of the perpetrator, or perpetrators, is crucial to understanding the crimes themselves. It's a complex and disturbing puzzle, but one we must try to piece together if we are to bring closure to the families and prevent future tragedies.
A long and difficult road ahead.
The Highway of Tears investigation, spanning decades, was plagued by its share of missed leads and frustrating dead ends. One such instance involved a potential witness who claimed to have seen a pickup truck speeding away from the area where one victim was last seen.
A crucial detail, potentially.
Absolutely. But despite extensive searches and public appeals, the truck and its driver were never located, leaving investigators wondering if it was a genuine lead or a misdirection. The vastness of the area and the limited technology at the time made tracking such tips incredibly challenging.
I can imagine.
Adding to the complexity were several instances of what appeared to be taunting communications. Letters, some claiming to be from the perpetrator, were sent to both the police and the families of victims.
Disturbing.
Truly. These communications, however, often proved to be hoaxes, adding another layer of anguish for the families already grappling with unimaginable grief, and frustrating the investigators further by diverting resources.
So false leads on top of real heartbreak.
Exactly. In the late 1990s, a glimmer of hope appeared with the arrest of a man in connection with one of the Highway of Tears murders. The arrest generated significant media attention, and for a brief period, it seemed like a major breakthrough.
A sense of relief, perhaps?
Yes, I'm sure. However, the charges were eventually dropped due to lack of sufficient evidence, plunging the investigation back into uncertainty. The false hope generated by this arrest served as a stark reminder of the complexities and challenges inherent in this long and arduous investigation.
A roller coaster of emotions.
There were also several persons of interest identified throughout the investigation, individuals with criminal histories or connections to the area. While some were cleared through DNA evidence or alibi verification, others remained shrouded in ambiguity, their potential involvement neither confirmed nor entirely dismissed.
Leaving a lot of unanswered questions.
Precisely. The task force dedicated to the Highway of Tears cases painstakingly compiled and analyzed vast quantities of information. They examined potential links to other unsolved crimes across the country, looking for any common threads that might lead them to the perpetrator or perpetrators.
A massive undertaking, I'm sure.
Absolutely. This included exploring databases of known offenders, comparing modus operandi, and even looking into potential connections to organized crime. Despite these efforts, a definitive link proving a single perpetrator or group responsible for all the murders remained elusive.
So the mystery continued.
Yes, the Highway of Tears cases became a chilling testament to the difficulties of solving crimes in remote areas, particularly when dealing with potentially transient perpetrators. The lack of witnesses, the challenging terrain, and the sheer scale of the area made the investigation a logistical nightmare.
A perfect storm of obstacles.
Indeed. The vastness and isolation of the highway itself played a significant role, providing cover for criminal activity and hindering the collection of timely evidence. The geographic challenges also contributed to jurisdictional issues between different police detachments, sometimes slowing down information sharing and coordination,
complicating an already complex situation.
The Highway of Tears cases, spanning decades, have left an enduring scar on the families of the victims.
It's truly heartbreaking.
Many families still hold out hope for answers, for closure, for justice. They live with the constant reminder of their lost loved ones, their lives irrevocably altered.
A constant ache.
The sheer number of missing and murdered women along this stretch of highway has also deeply impacted Indigenous communities.
Shattered trust, I imagine.
The pervasive fear and unease have become ingrained in daily life, altering routines and restricting movement, especially for women.
A constant state of vigilance.
This fear has been passed down through generations, shaping how families raise their children and interact with the world. It's a collective trauma that binds these communities together in grief and shared vulnerability.
It's more than just individual cases, it's a collective wound.
The emotional toll is immeasurable. The constant reminder of unsolved cases, coupled with the fear of further violence, creates an environment of pervasive anxiety and mistrust.
Do you think this fear hinders investigations?
Absolutely. Reluctance to engage with law enforcement, stemming from historical and systemic issues, can make gathering information and building trust within these communities incredibly challenging.
A vicious cycle.
Precisely. This reluctance, coupled with the geographical challenges of the region, the vastness, the remoteness, makes solving these cases even more difficult.
The isolation must amplify the fear.
Imagine living in a community where so many young women have vanished without a trace, knowing that the vast wilderness surrounding you holds unanswered questions and untold stories.
It's chilling.
That constant awareness of vulnerability, the knowledge that danger might lurk just around the bend, creates a heavy psychological burden.
A weight on the entire community.
Generations have grown up under this shadow, and the impact on mental health, social dynamics, and even economic opportunities cannot be overstated.
It permeates every aspect of life.
The Highway of Tears isn't just a road, it's a symbol of loss, fear, and the ongoing struggle for justice and healing within these communities.
A symbol etched in sorrow.
And while investigations continue, and some cases have been solved, the long-term psychological and emotional impact of these tragedies continues to reverberate through the families and communities connected to this infamous stretch of highway. Less than person one greater than Cody Lejbukov's digital footprint became a crucial piece of the puzzle. Investigators meticulously analyzed his online activity, uncovering searches related to the missing women and, chillingly, searches about DNA evidence and police investigation techniques.
So he was actively trying to cover his tracks?
It certainly appears that way. The digital trail led them deeper into Lejbukov's life, revealing a disturbing pattern of behavior. His social media accounts painted a picture of a young man leading a double life. Outwardly, he presented a normal facade, but the online searches suggested a darker, hidden side.
A classic case of duality.
Precisely. And then came the physical evidence. Microscopic analysis of Lejbukov's truck revealed traces of Lauren Leslie's blood, as well as fibers consistent with the clothing of other missing women. This forensic evidence, combined with the digital trail and witness testimonies, began to form a damning case against him.
The net was closing in.
Yes, the pieces were falling into place. The RCMP, armed with this mounting evidence, brought Lejbukov in for questioning. Initially, he denied any involvement, sticking to his fabricated story about meeting Lauren Leslie online and accidentally injuring her. But the investigators, armed with the facts, pressed him relentlessly.
Did he crack under pressure?
Not immediately. He remained remarkably composed, maintaining his innocence throughout the initial interrogation. However, the weight of the evidence against him was overwhelming. The digital footprint, the forensic analysis, the witness accounts, it all pointed to him.
A mountain of evidence.
Indeed. And as the interrogation continued, cracks began to appear in his carefully constructed facade. He began to stumble over his story, offering contradictory statements and changing details. The investigators sensed his weakening resolve and pressed harder.
They could smell blood in the water.
A fitting analogy. Finally, after hours of relentless questioning, Cody Lejbukov confessed to the murder of Lauren Leslie. It was a chilling admission, delivered with an unsettling calmness that sent shivers down the spines of the seasoned investigators.
Chilling.
He subsequently admitted to the murders of Jill Stuchenko, Natasha Montgomery, and Cynthia Macias, providing details that only the killer could have known. The highway had finally given up its secrets, and a monster had been unmasked.
But the question remains, why?
That's a question that continues to haunt investigators and the families of the victims. Despite his confession, Lejbukov never offered a clear motive for his heinous crimes, leaving a void of understanding in the wake of his devastating acts. Less than / person 1 greater than. Less than person 1 greater than. We've spent 9 episodes meticulously dissecting the tragedies along the Highway of Tears, a stretch of road that has become synonymous with loss and unanswered questions.
A chilling testament to the vulnerabilities faced by so many.
Indeed. We've explored the lives cut short, the families forever marked by grief, and the persistent efforts of investigators to bring closure to these cases. We've examined the sociological factors, the geographical isolation, and the systemic issues that may have contributed to this dark chapter in Canadian history.
It's a complex web of factors, isn't it?
Absolutely. And despite decades of investigation, numerous suspects considered, and countless tips followed, many of these cases remain open. The families of the victims still yearn for answers, for justice, for the peace that comes with knowing what happened to their loved ones.
That ongoing search for answers must be agonizing.
Imagine the weight of not knowing, the constant questioning, the inability to truly grieve. It's a burden these families carry every single day, and it underscores the unsettling reality that evil can lurk in plain sight, masked by the ordinariness of everyday life.
Hidden within the familiar.
The Highway of Tears itself is a symbol of this duality, a vital artery connecting communities, yet also a corridor of fear where vulnerability is tragically exploited. The vastness of the landscape, the remoteness, becomes both a witness and a concealer of horrific acts.
A silent accomplice, in a way.
Precisely. And this leads us to a crucial, perhaps unsettling, question. If such darkness can exist in a place seemingly so ordinary, what other hidden dangers lurk unnoticed in the landscapes we traverse daily?
It's a sobering thought.
The Highway of Tears serves as a stark reminder that evil doesn't always announce itself with grand gestures. It can be insidious, quiet, hiding in the shadows of the mundane. It can be a passing vehicle on a lonely road, a fleeting encounter, a moment of vulnerability exploited.
A reminder to be vigilant, perhaps.
Vigilance is undoubtedly important, but it's equally crucial to cultivate a society that prioritizes safety, justice, and the protection of its most vulnerable members. A society where the tragedies of the Highway of Tears are not repeated.
A society where such darkness has no place to hide.
As we conclude this series, we carry with us the stories of the victims, their families, and the ongoing fight for justice. We leave you with the unsettling question: what other highways of tears remain undiscovered, and what can we do to ensure that no more lives are lost in the shadows? Less than / person 1 greater than. Less than person 1 greater than. Thank you for walking with us through the shadows. The story doesn't end here. It lingers, echoing through time, reminding us that the darkest truths often hide in plain sight. Until next time, stay curious and stay vigilant.
Stay safe and keep questioning everything.